Yeah, so humans are really interesting when it comes to trying to control security risk. Because the unfortunate truth is, I think somewhere around 70 to 80% of continuing sort of breaches and exploitation can be traced back to something like credential loss. Now, credential loss itself often occurs because of a human error, right? It's social engineering, it's phishing and getting tricked into clicking on a link that you shouldn't have done. And that credential harvesting is the root of so many of the security issues that get exploited out there. And most of those can be traced back to a human making a mistake. And it's hard because, from a security perspective, we have to balance how do I enable somebody to perform their job, right? Have access to the things they need to, but also still have the ability to lock down their system, right? And so at the end of the day, I can't prevent users, right, from accessing the things they need to do their job, which means in the event that those credentials are lost, the attacker also has access to that as well. So that's a really tricky one, right? How do I balance that ability? So there is I think, an over reliance, right, in the security space to develop policies. And I love policy. So for the record, I actually love security policy. I think you need policy. But the problem is, I see a lot of policies that rely on employees essentially memorizing what they're supposed to do, right? Memorizing and knowing, like, well, I shouldn't export this data, right? And so what I want to see is this evolution where, yes, the policies serve a purpose and the policies are setting the rules for of engagement, right? Of what good looks like and what we should be doing. But that next step of how do you actually set up your infrastructure and your systems and the way you do access control and all the tooling that your employees use, how do you set those up with rules that actually just set them up for success, right? If a user shouldn't export something and email it to a customer, then how can you put data classification rules in place, or how can you set download rules in place that make it so they don't do that, right? Because most of the times when that happens, it's not nefarious intent, right? It's that an employee cannot keep 100 security requirements in their head at any given time. I can't even do it, and I love security. And so this over reliance on trying to have employees memorize, right, a bunch of rules and then expect them to change their behavior based on that is really tough, right? So we need that advancement in trying to support them with tooling and setting up their environments in such a way that that security isn't relying on them memorizing, but rather on us setting up their environment in such a way that they can still do their job, but they can do it in a way where we've put guardrails in place that hopefully keep a lot of those common attack vectors from happening. So we need to balance those two, I think, better than what I traditionally see. And it's hard, right?
Do
I'm
you have
not going
any
to say it's not hard.